This is going to sound crazy, but if you have knee arthritis, you should approach training and working out the same way you would if you did not have knee arthritis. Most people, when they get diagnosed with knee arthritis, they're told to avoid movement, to protect their joints, do low impact exercises. But really, avoiding movement actually leaves your joints less protected. Training with the right exercises is going to help to reduce pain. It's going to help you move better, feel better when you move, and then also keep you training and living pain free. So, today I'm going to break down 3 steps to exercising with knee arthritis without making your pain worse. So, let's get into it. First things first, I have a little knee model here, and we're just going to briefly discuss what knee arthritis is. And basically, it's just wearing down of the cartilage that cushions your knee joint. So your knee joint is made up of your femur, so your thigh bone, this, and then your tibia, your shin bone, right? And then on the ends of those bones, you have cushioning from your cartilage. So if I bring this in, the blue is your meniscus, but the white that is lining the bone, that's your cartilage, right? So when you have arthritis, that starts to break down. It starts to become more rough. It starts to thin out. And over time, you're going to notice that the bones start to rub together, and that's going to lead to stiffness. That's going to lead to pain and swelling. And the best thing you can do in this situation is strengthen the muscles around the knee and keep the joint moving, right? So, the reason you're going to do this is because when you have arthritis, whenever you move, well, first of all, whenever you move and you exercise, your body produces liquid around all your joints. So movement is medicine for your joints, right? But when you have arthritis, you lose that natural lubrication. So if you can move more often, your body is going to naturally produce that lubrication that you've lost with arthritis. So it's helpful for you to be as active as possible. Then, if you can get a good routine that allows you to exercise, you can not only move, but you can actually strengthen your knee joint. But there are specific steps that you have to go through in order to figure out what exact exercises are going to work for you in your case of knee arthritis. Because at the end of the day, arthritis is a big umbrella term, and anybody who has arthritis is going to present differently from the next person. So in this video, we're going to talk about 3 steps to actually put together an exercise routine if you have knee arthritis. So step 1, you're going to assess your range of motion, and this is going to help you guide your training, because before jumping into any exercise routine, you need to figure out what your body can actually do, like how far your knee can actually move, because this is going to guide what you can and can't do comfortably. And you don't need full range of motion to work out. Let me first say that. You don't need full range of motion to be working out, but knowing your limitations is going to help you, number one, know what to focus on, and number two, know what the right exercises are going to be for you. And your knee joint does 2 motions. It's gonna bend and it's gonna straighten. So bending is referred to as knee flexion. If you hear me say that, I just mean knee bending. And then it straightens, which is referred to as knee extension. So let's do a quick range of motion test. I do go through these tests in more detail inside the Get Rid of Knee Pain program, but these are just 2 quick ones we can do right now. So lay on your back and you're gonna bring your butt to your heel. And you wanna see if you can get the same range of motion on both sides. And then you're going to straighten your leg out and you're going to look to see if the back of your knee touches the surface. If it does, you have full range of motion, you have full extension. And if it doesn't, that's something you need to keep in mind, because you have to work on that. Because if you can't fully bend your knee and you can't fully straighten your knee, being pain free when you move and exercise is going to be a struggle, especially if you have knee arthritis. If you can't bend your knee, going downstairs is going to be really hard, because if you look at somebody who lacks knee flexion, the ability to bend their knee, they typically go down the stairs sideways because they don't have enough range of motion to bend to get to the next step. So going down sideways limits how much you need to bend your knee. And that's not something that you want to necessarily have to do for the rest of your life, right? people typically get very self-conscious about taking the stairs when they have to do it differently from other people, when you have to go sideways. So that's a big lifestyle hit that you'll have if you don't have knee flexion. Also, getting up from the chairs, getting up from sofas, getting up from low toilet seats, getting out of a car is all going to be hard if you don't have full flexion. Then, if you can't get full extension, your knee is not going to work in the way it's designed to. So, the best way I can describe this is if you think about walking, when you walk, you want to strike with your heel and then translate your weight over to your big toe, right? But if you don't have full extension, you're not going to be able to strike the ground with your heel to begin with. So instead of your quad absorbing the force when your heel strikes the ground, all the forces is going to go straight to your knee. And think of how many steps you accumulate in a day. Every time you take a step, it's going to be extra stress on your knee joint. And that's going to add up fast if you have any fitness goals that you're after. If you're trying to do 10K steps, if you're trying to train for a 5K, running is just going to be more intense on your knees if you don't have full range of motion. And it's already intense on your knees if you don't have a lot of strength to run. So combine that with lacking range of motion, it's not good for your knee joint at all. So range of motion is really important. It's a prerequisite for pretty much anything. It's a prerequisite for adequate knee health. And if it's limited, it's something you want to work on. But like I said earlier, if your range of motion is limited, you still can train. So don't worry. You just want to make sure that you know where you're starting at. So step one is assess your range of motion. So now that you've done that, you know exactly what you need to work on, and then this can guide the exercises you do in your training routine. So moving on to step two. Step two is finding the right exercise variations for your knee health, right? For your current knee health. So no matter what you've been told about knee arthritis, you should be doing variations of fundamental human movement. So exercises or movements that you have to do every day, whether you're going to the gym and working out or not. So variations of squats, single leg and split stance movements. So think lunges, split squats, step ups. Hinging, so bending forward at your hips. So think RDLs, deadlifts, hip thrusts. Pushing exercises. So anytime you're pushing things away from your body, so a bench press, a shoulder press, push-ups, pulling exercises. So think pulling something to your body, like doing a row, or pulling your body towards something like a pull-up. And then core and carrying exercises like planks, farmer carries, things like that. So this does not mean you need to be lifting the heaviest weight in the gym, squatting or lunging the heaviest weight in the gym, but you need to be doing some sort of these movements to keep your entire body strong. And the way you find which variation of these movements is best for you is to go through a full body assessment. So you want to go through assessment that takes you through all of these movement patterns, and you want to see how all of your joints move so that you know where your strengths are, where your weaknesses are. And then from there, you can see what you need to put into your workout program. So this movement assessment is a non-negotiable for many reasons. Going back to step one. So when you're assessing your range of motion, you have to see where you're at, because if you don't have full range of motion, that doesn't mean you can't do leg workouts, but that does mean you have to find ones that are appropriate for your current available range of motion, right? So if you don't have knee flexion, you're not going to choose a squat variation that requires you to go ass to grass, because that's not going to be possible if you can't bend your knee that much. But you can still do other variations. And people who have knee pain or people who have arthritis, they often either have the belief that squats and lunges are bad for them, or they genuinely believe that they aren't capable of doing it for whatever reason. But it's really because they are trying to do a squat or lunge variation that's not appropriate for them. So you may not be able to do a barbell back squat right now, walking lunges, forward lunges. You may not be able to do a goblet squat, but that doesn't mean all squats are off the table. Typically, people can do TRX squat. They can do squats to a box, because it's the same thing as getting up from a chair. You can adjust the chair height. You can do a leg press. And leg press is a good example because think about the position you're in when you're on a leg press. You're typically laying down or at a different angle. You're not standing. So what that does is takes you from going from a standing position where you're going against gravity to reclining you to a completely flat position or slightly inclined, which is going to take away gravity. And that's typically better on your knee joint. So people are able to tolerate leg press a lot better than squats. So that's a great option if you have knee arthritis. And you may not be able to do, say, a Bulgarian split squat or a forward lunge, but you may be able to do a reverse lunge with or without support. Maybe you limit how far down you go. Maybe you limit your knee from going over your toe. And then as things start to feel better, you can progress from there. But without knowing your starting point is hard to know what you should be doing. So it all starts with the movement assessment. And if you skip this, you're going to end up guessing what you should be doing. And that's likely going to make your knee pain worse. And that's the worst thing ever because now you're going to feel like exercising is just not for you. You're going to feel like your knees are just bad. You have to accept that for the rest of your life. But that's not true. You just have to go through the proper steps to figure out what works for you. All right, step 3. So build a routine to get as strong as possible in your entire body. So once you've assessed what movements work for you, it's now time to put that into a training program to get stronger, not just around your knee, but across your entire body. And I say the entire body because knee arthritis is rarely ever just about the knee. Your knee is sandwiched between your hips and your ankles. And if those areas are not strong, they're not stable, they're not mobile, your knee is going to take the hit. So think of your knee like a Jenga tower, right? If the blocks above it, your core, your upper body, your glutes, your hips, and then below it, your ankles and your feet are weak or unstable, that tower is going to collapse. And your knee is going to be the piece that takes most of the stress, that takes most of the hit. So that's why full body strength training is a non negotiable to protect your knees. So the best thing you can do if you have knee arthritis is create a routine that hits all of your muscle groups, every single muscle group in your body. And when it comes to your lower body, you have to choose exercises that are appropriate for your knee joint based on steps 1 and step 2. So just to recap all 3 steps to training with knee arthritis, step 1 is assess your range of motion, how far you can bend your knee, and if you can fully straighten your knee. Step 2, go through a full body movement assessment. So all the movements that life is going to require of you, you need to go through that and see how you do them. And then step 3 is to build a routine based on the information you found in step 1 and step 2. Funny enough, this is the exact process I take you through inside my Get Ready Knee Pain program. Inside, you're going to learn how to improve your range of motion if you do have range of motion deficits. You go through assessments to find exercises that are safe for you. And then based on that, there's various different templates in there to help you build a routine so that you don't have knee pain. You don't let knee pain hold you back from training. And you definitely don't let knee pain hold you back from living the life you want. Because if you continue to avoid it, if you continue to ignore it, it is going to start to creep in to your day-to-day life and start to impact things that you wouldn't even think your knee health mattered for, right? So if you have knee arthritis and want to work out in a way that's safe for you, click the link in the description to get started today, and I'll catch you guys on the next episode. Peace.